The journey to the presidency for Zambia's 60th president, Edgar Lungu, has been one of the most challenging in Zambia's political history. Before he became president, Edgar Lungu faced opposition from within PF. And after he became president, President Edgar Lungu was faced with the country's most severe power deficit. President Edgar Lungu was also to sort out massive job losses in the mining industry. On this week's edition of News In Depth, we look at the journey of President Edgar Lungu to the presidency. I am your presenter, Masao Som Kwayaya. Stay tuned. When the founding father of the Patriotic Front, Michael Sata, died in November 2014, the party needed to find an immediate replacement. The person who was going to replace Michael Chulufya Sata was poised to represent the PF in the emergency elections, which were held in January 2015. The January 20, 2015 presidential elections were sparked by a clause in the 1996 amended constitution that required the country to hold elections within 3 months after the demise of a sitting president. This meant that the Patriotic Front only had 3 months in which to find a presidential candidate to contest the 2015 elections. And the person who appeared close to that task was the then acting president, Edgar Lungu.
President Lungu, I think, faced one of the worst difficult challenges in living memory in terms of Zambian politics, in the sense that the demise of President Sata brought about what in history we call a succession dispute. A very, very bitter succession dispute within the Patriotic Front as to who was to succeed President Michael Sata. I said, well, those are internal politics. So in short, there was a very bitter feud, a very bitter power struggle, so to speak, as to who was to succeed President Michael Sata, particularly given the fact that the Patriotic Front was in power. And so whoever succeeded President Michael Sata was almost likely to become the next president.
As acting president, Edgar Lungu officiated at Zambia's Jubilee celebrations that were held at Hero Stadium.
All the pride of our nation. 1964. And all the pride of our nation.
This was Edgar Lungu's major public appearance as acting president. When he appeared to the crowd, clad in a chitenge wrapper hanging on his shoulders, with a wooden walking stick dangling in his hands, people screamed with excitement. The screams and cheers from the crowd made it apparent that the people loved the man and needed him to be president. It was at that event that Edgar Lungu was coined as the Jubilee president. Despite the many challenges he faced ahead of the 2015 elections, Edgar Lungu took charge of the Patriotic Front board and contested the January 20, 2015 elections. He won that election by a simple majority, beating his closest rival, Hakainde Hichilema, by just less than 2%. During his inauguration, the president immediately set the tone and showed that he meant business.
We will definitely deliver a people-driven constitution as per the roadmap we recently released. In this respect, I'm hereby appointing one renowned and respected lawyer, Dr. Simbiakula, to immediately become Minister of Justice and see to it that this is done. Countrymen and women, this is a momentous day. On this day, I only would like to thank you, Zambians, for what you are. I would like to thank you for being a peaceful and loving people. You have re-energized me and reaffirmed the peace spirit that was in the past, overcome with desire to continue Mr. Sata's vision.
After being sworn in as Republican president in 2015, Edgar Lungu's tenure of office was scheduled to last just slightly over a year in order to pave way for the August 11, 2016 general elections. However short, Edgar Lungu's tenure in office was to become one of the most challenging in Zambia's political history. As president, Lungu was challenged with a daunting task to find solutions to the country's worst ever power deficit that led to the infamous load shedding. Household and commercial consumers of electricity were subjected to reduced hours of power supply, reaching almost 8 hours on a daily basis. This emergency crisis led President Lungu to enter into emergency negotiations with neighboring Mozambique for them to export power to Zambia. Despite demand for power from other African countries who wanted to import the commodity from Mozambique, President Lungu managed to secure the deal. That deal, plus the commissioning of other energy facilities such as the Mamba Coleridge plant, reduced load shedding hours from 8 to 4 hours a day.
Well, this is impressive because we had some administrative hitches on this project, and I think we overcame them very recently. And considering the fact that it's only now that we have overcome those financing arrangements, this is tremendous. It's just incredible. I'd like to believe that by January, February, we'll be coming to commission this plant, and they've given me their personal assurance, and we've been talking quietly about this project. But wait for January, February, come. You'll see that this will be history, because even the power deficit that we're talking about will be alleviated by the power which will come out of here. And it's one of the major projects that we're looking into, apart from intensification. So this and intensification, load shedding will be a thing of the past.
During his tenure, thousands of jobs were lost in various mines across the country. With elections just around the corner, the loss of jobs in mines mostly on the copper belt posed a huge risk to the PF, who have historically enjoyed support from the province. As a measure to try and cushion the imminent economic challenges that the job losses would cause on the economy, President Lungu made a bold decision aimed at empowering the miners who had lost jobs. The president directed that the miners be given land and equipped with agriculture skills that would enable them to venture into farming in order to fend for themselves and their families.
In the first place, we suggested that Mopani and the labor leaders should sit down and discuss with a view to attain a win-win situation. They went there, they were discussing. But apparently, either there was no sincerity in the talks or somebody was not equal to the task. So when we went on the copper belt during my last tour, we talked around this problem. And we said, yes, go, sit down. And they've been talking. And I think you saw that there is a consensus on the issue that some jobs have to go. And what we said is that if the jobs are going, the question is what next? Are you going to pay the workers a decent exit package? Beyond that, what are you going to provide for these people? Because they have to continue leading a sustainable economical life. And these are the issues I put to the labor movement to say, talk around the problem. If I was able to increase the price of copper as president, I would have done that overnight so that the jobs are safe. So they're still talking, and we're still talking. We want the mines to continue operating at sustainable levels. We want employment to be kept, and we want the mines to pay taxes.
Despite these many challenges, Time was ticking for President Edgar Lungu to deliver on the promises that he made during the 2015 campaigns. One of those promises that seemed a little ambitious and somewhat like mere rhetoric was the delivery of an amended constitution to the people of Zambia. This may be because Lungu's predecessors also made the same promises and never delivered on them.
There has been a lot of debate about the enactment of this constitution. Some political parties protested in parliament by sitting for many sessions demanding that a new constitution be passed, vowing that they would not allow the 2016 elections to be held under the current constitution, the one we have just amended. However, when the same constitution they had been demanding was given to them in the same house where they had been protesting, they again protested by walking out that they did not support the constitution they had been demanding. Granted, politics is a part of our broader democracy, but let us practice politics truthfully.
The 2016 amended constitution, which the head of state delivered to the Zambian people, was assented to on January 5, 2016, just about 4 months before the commencement of the August 11 general elections campaigns. The assenting to the amended constitution was, however, not going to be all rosy. The constitution has legal provisions that requires the country to subject itself to laws that are alien to the nation. The amended constitution also provides for elections to be held under the 50+1 electoral system that requires a presidential candidate to garner more than 50% of the total vote cast to be declared winner. On Monday 15th August 2016, President Edgar Lungu was declared winner. According to the amended constitution, the new president needs to be sworn in a week after the announcement of the official election results. However, this did not happen because his election was petitioned in the Constitutional Court by his closest rival, UPND leader Hakainde Hichilema, and his running mate Geoffrey Bwariamwamba. The petition, which was to be heard by the court within 14 days, was on grounds of alleged electoral irregularities. After 2 weeks, the courts later threw out the petition on grounds that time within to hear the case had elapsed. Clad in his signature blue suit and red tie, President Edgar Lungu, on Tuesday, September 13, 2016, took oath of office before Chief Justice Irene Mambidima at a fully packed and colorful event held at Heroes Stadium.
That I uphold and maintain the Constitution and laws of Zambia.
The event, which was also punctuated by well-choreographed military drills, was witnessed by foreign heads of states and governments.
What we have witnessed here, and it happened directly in our eyes, it's really a Zambian in this stadium, plus those of us as their brothers and sisters who came to join them. All what we see here is a nation united, rejoicing for what has happened. And of course we have seen it for ourselves. And we wanted to say to us and to the rest of Africa, and indeed beyond, yes, Zambia is on the march, Africa is on the march. That can be noticed here. Democracy we've seen, has been seen as what it is.
And for Zambia's only female contestant in the August 11 general elections, Edith Nawakwi of the Forum for Democracy and Development, FDD, the inauguration of President Lungu entails that it is time to move on.
Came here because I believe that we have, as a people, to sit down and resolve our problems in a very, very peaceful manner. And I came here hoping that in this inauguration, Patriotic Front and the President will realize that they are in a stronger position. They have to extend an olive branch to those whom feel that they have lost. This loss of election is simply a game. Politics is just but a game. It shouldn't be the source of conflict. And unfortunately, in many places in Africa, post-election conflict arises out of disagreements. I think you will see that from 2011, when I went to the inauguration, this is the second one, who my opponent has won, and I feel that I'm a Zambian, and I still have my Zambia.
A National Restoration Party, NAREP, President Elias Chipimo has asked the head of state to accommodate everyone in the running of his government.
I am at this inauguration not because I particularly support any particular candidate. We as a party stand strong in our belief that we have the agenda that can take this country forward. But at this time, as God has determined, President Lungu is the man who is in power. And if we are to be genuine leaders, we must do everything in our power to make sure that the Zambian people benefit from the ideas we have. And if it means contributing to ideas that this government must introduce, we must play that role. But we must support anybody who is fairly and legally elected. And right now, that is the position that we are facing.
As a way of moving forward, President Lungu also indicated that he will constitute a commission of inquiry which will examine factors that led to pre- and post-election violence. The president said the findings will be used as a lesson and reference in dealing with similar future occurrences.
I will be appointing an inquiry to establish the cause and perpetrators of the post-election violence so that the nation can learn from such vices, and whoever deserves booking will be booked accordingly. As a responsible government, we cannot look away when organized violence is deployed against some sections of our people.
Among the multitudes who attended the inauguration ceremony, traditional leaders were also present. Chief Mumena of the Kaonde-speaking people in Northwestern Province noted that a commission of inquiry is necessary and timely.
The President has made an announcement to the effect that he's going to call upon a commission of inquiry to find out and investigate our sources of differences so as to mend the various cracks in our nation. I think that's a welcome move, and I think that this is a momentous occasion, and that every one of us as Zambians must support the moving forward, the unity of one Zambia, one nation.
Other traditional leaders have appealed to President Lungu to prioritize the promotion of peace and unity in the country.
Omangati bola yasira ndetu udani unoyema usile ropa deni teupake umoyo wasopano nda ziko ili silingaende na muntu umoja ziko lwenda na kukatishana tose vipani vose vilimo na Mzambe visenzeri pamoja na chipani chimoja.
I think it was a very, very big ceremony. What I like here in Zambia, because it was a demonstration of democracy, of living democracy in Zambia. And they change even to see former presidents. Greetings, new president. It's very, it's a big lesson for Africa. I am from DRC, and I think it is a big lesson for us.
In his inaugural speech, President Lungu hinted that he wants to run a green-oriented government which will lead to the production of enough food for the country and the region.
For those of you who join me in my new administration, I have a message for you. We all must lead from the front. I want to lead a green revolution that must culminate in sustainable national food security from individual actions in each one of us. To this effect, I'm directing that it's a prerequisite for anyone, starting from the rank of director in government ministries and departments, to engage in at least one agro-based activity. This can be a smallholder for fish farming, poultry, vegetable, or any food production venture. And I think I will lead from the front, starting from State House with my staff.
Former Acting Chief Justice, who is also President of the Comesa Court of Justice, Lombechibe Sakunda, called for the sharpening and refining of some problematic parts contained in the Constitution.
I find certain parts of the new Constitution a little worrying. I do hope that we can go through some process of defining them and making them better. But every constitution is not really a permanent structure. It moves, it changes with the times. So even this one should change with times. What we should do as a country is to look at the pockets of the new constitution, which are worrying and which cause a lot of concern. There are grey areas and redefine them.
There's a phrase in Latin, vox populi, vox Dei. The voice of the people is the voice of God. And I think a lot of times we hear, that this is God's will, this is what God has wanted. And for me, it is just a point when Zambia restarts her journey afresh. And that we've got faith in the leadership that has been chosen by the people of Zambia. And after what we went through with the court processes and different points of view, the acrimony that followed, it gives a sigh of relief and a sense of saying we have new beginnings and it is time for Zambians again to hold hands.
President Edgar Lungu, who has been coined as Mr. Walk the Talk, now has 5 years to walk the Zambian people to the realization of his promises. He has already taken his first steps by declaring that he will spearhead the exploration of the use of nuclear energy. President Lungu has, however, emphasized that the development of Zambia lies in individual efforts of all Zambians.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for making time to be part of this week's News In-Depth, where we're looking at the journey of President Edgar Lungu to the presidency. I have been your presenter, Masauso Mkwayaya. Be sure to join us next week for yet another interesting program. Pleasant viewing.